One of the first things you'll want to do is to modify the log for your use. So we'll show you how that works. We'll go to the main menu, down to logs, and it doesn't matter which station you have here because all stations will have the same log unless you choose to set up different log formats for different stations, and that means you'll need to switch the default report before printing that log, and that's in the menu right up here, Set Default Reports. And it doesn't matter which day of the week you have. Ideally you'll have program spots and all the usual things. So we go to Modify Report by clicking on that button on the log date screen. And here you see a log that contains pretty much everything that you can actually put into a log. It's very handy to move the cursor to a blank area and do a right click and then pick Preview. That shows you all the different things in the log. There's a code that provides the station call letters, and then this is just text, program log 4, and then there's a field that deals with the day of the week and the date. There's also fields for when this is printed. These are headers for the different columns. They can be changed, they can be deleted. There is the time that everything starts down this side. There is the name of the item, program or break name, or a program break item like station ID, or the name of a commercial or spot, and in this case it's whatever you put into the spot name. And it also has a place for the copy name or copy description, and then that's followed by all the copy that was put into RadioWorks and scheduled so that it would show up on the log, assuming that this is a live operation. Whether that's another program break item. So you have those things to let the board operator know what to do when. And at the end of each break it will give you a time left in break. Like right here it says you have 15 seconds left in the break, which means that there was room for two 15-second spots. Only one has been scheduled, so you do have room for another one, and you could add that if you were in the pre-log. But what we're doing now is really dealing with how the log is going to look on screen and when printed on paper. So you can scroll down and see all those different things. This is the source field, and that comes from whatever you put in the source field, both in programs and in program break items and in the spot field or the spot screen, source field. And that pretty much covers it. So if you want to make changes, then you go up here and there's a little door in the toolbar and you close that. And if you don't have a toolbar showing, like in this case, you go over here to the buttons, and this one with the hammer and wrench is the Report Controls toolbar. So click on that, and sometimes it pops up in the most unlikely place, so we'll drag that up here so we can easily see it and find it when we need to work with it. Whenever you're working in the Modify Report area, you'll be using one of these tools. The pointer means that you can select an object and you can move it around just by dragging it in different places. For example, down here at the page footer, we have operator log. That's just a little phrase. When I do a left click on it, it is now selected, and I can move it by just dragging it. It gives an outline, and there you can see there's a grid. It's going to snap into position. Or I can just use the arrow keys on the keyboard. Now I'm going to hold down the left arrow key, and now it's going to go right back into place. So that you use the arrow keys when you're working on very small movements, or drag when you want to move it a good deal of space, and it would be too slow to move it otherwise. Anyway, you see some of the fields here. There's the date field, there's the time field, there's the station call letters from the station area and setup, and then there's just text, and then here is some code that puts in the day of the week and the date. There's page number, and then there you have all of your column headers. Now there's column headers here too, and they only print on page 2 and following, and that's because there is a print when command. Now I'm going to double click on this. We'll just pick source. It's true of a number of others. And that opens up a window, and it has the print when button here. So when you click on it, you'll see down here at the bottom when the page number, and that's what you saw way up here, there's the code for page number, is greater than or lesser than 1. Now I don't know when it ever is going to be less than 1, but it is going to print if you're on the second, third, fourth, fifth page, because that fits the test. And it also says remove line if blank, which is not really going to apply in this area because, well, I guess on page 1, yes, it would. So that's the way that that is set. So if you want something to print on a certain page, then that's how to tell it that. The other thing is that you can delete different things here. There's the program title. Here are the notes that would come from the program scheduler. The break name. Here is a phrase that you may have on your log if you choose to set floating breaks. A floating break is described as a break that can occur between two different times which are longer than when the break is normally set for. For example, if you have a break that is scheduled for 10 after the hour, but due to the nature of programming, you know that anywhere from 10 after the hour to 25 after the hour would be acceptable for the break. Then you can make it a floating break. The start time would be 10 after the hour, the end time 25 after the hour, and this would tell anyone reading the log that the break may occur between 10 after the hour and 25 after the hour in that example. You don't need to use that. You can just put a spot or the break right on the log at the time you want it to occur, and if it's a live board operation, you let the board operator figure out when he's going to get that in without being told what the time range is, but it's whatever you prefer. Down here we have all of the detail for what goes into the breaks. Now you'll notice down here in this band we have the word detail and a little arrow pointing up, and that means everything in this band is part of the detail. One item is what's called the record log, which means you can put instructions on the log, the paper log, the printed log, or if you're just displaying the log on the screen, to a live board operator that gives them instructions what to do. It may or may not have anything directly to do with the programming, maybe a station thing like unlocking the door or switching the phones to a different receptionist, and all kinds of things that may occur throughout the day. And you can set that up in the record log area of setup. Then record notes. That's if the amount of material you want to put on the log exceeds what will fit in the description area, then you can add that in there. You also have the break item name, and that's like program station ID or weather, a program break item. Then you have a spot name, and that's where that would be displayed. And you also have the copy name, as we saw before. And then you finally have a place for the copy. The area here for source is going to pick up what's in the source field in the different areas, and then you have the actual duration time. So here's a column that shows how long each item in or on the log is going to take. And finally, then you have a place that will say time left in break and put that on the log. Unless there is no time left in the break, then it will disappear. But this is handy for a live board operator that is working in a network situation where the breaks are already preset, and it lets them know that the amount of material in the log will not cover the break, and they need to be prepared to finish out whatever time is going to be left. You have a group footer, in this case not even being used, and you have a page footer, and that gives you the page number. And then you have at the very bottom, if we scroll down here, the summary, and this is designed to go on the very last page of the log. I should add at this point that the title is designed to go on the first page and first page only of the log. So whatever you put between this band and the top, just going to be on the first page. Whatever you put between the summary band and this area, this band right here, that's all going to go on the last page. Some stations like to have the sign on, sign off at the bottom of every page. Some add a separate sheet to it. It could be part of the cover sheet, in which case you would put that all in the top here. You would extend that down, and that's how you do it. If you want to add more information, you just click on that, and then you can pull it down. See? Now you got more space. You can add fields and you can add text. So we'll take a look at some of these things. We've been using the pointer. If you want to add text, you would click on A, which is that turns it into a text tool, and you put the cursor wherever you want it. It can be moved later, and then you type in whatever you want to type, and then when you hit enter, it'll go on and you can type in a second line. And then if you click off of that area, it changes back to a pointer. Now if you want to keep the text tool alive for typing different places, you would choose the text tool, and then you would choose the little button lock, and that would lock it down to where you always have a text tool until you released it. And then you can do other things. Now once I've done that, I've got my gibberish there, and I select it by just clicking once on it. If I want to open that up and do a print when command, since it's text, I can do that. Or there's another thing I can do, and that's here, the format. Now, if you click on format, a lot of things you can do. You can do alignment, because if you have several different items like these titles down here, if you want them all looking like they're on an exact same line, but when you type them in, some are a little higher, some a little lower, you just select all of them, and you can do that by clicking on one and then holding down the shift key and click on the next. Or you can make kind of a lasso by clicking, here I'll just do that, you drag across, see what I'm doing, and then I don't have to do the whole word, I can just do a part of it, and then when I release, all of those are now selected, and any command I give is going to affect all of them. So if I wanted to make the format command or alignment, it would be able to do that in a variety of ways. If I want to move it to the grid in a certain way, or do horizontal spacing, vertical spacing, a lot of these you may be familiar with if you work with graphics. If you don't like it snapping to the grid, you can undo that here. Probably the area you'll use the most is in the font area, and there it shows you what font face has been selected. Then you've got different attributes such as bold, regular, italic, or bold italic, and then you have the different sizes, and you can make the changes there, even make changes by putting in a color. And you can color different items in the log in this fashion. Now if I click anywhere, the little selection will go away. And the other things that you can do require a little more experience in the modify report area. Now, the best thing to do is to, when you start out doing this kind of thing, is to save it under a different format name. And a lot of times you can just use the call letters, and that'll be recognized as the log. You're limited to 8 characters in the name of the file. So that can be pretty limiting, and you'll have to use your imagination to just figure out how to name the log. But the way you do that is you go right up here, and you can do a save as, and then that would allow you, this opens up the reports folder in your DVFS folder, which is where all of the reports are stored, and then you would change it to a different type of log name. So instead of log full, which just means it's got about everything you can put into a log, you can change that and call it XYZ or whatever you want to use that for. And once you do that, then you have to remember to go back to the reports area in setup, or when you have the log date screen open, set default reports is the menu choice at the top, and you can then change to the new format. Otherwise you'll wonder why the log hasn't changed. Now, if I want to undo these changes, then it's very simple to do this and say close. Say nope, I don't want to save all that. And then if I click on modify report again, see everything has been restored. So that's the value of either saving it as a different name or being careful not to save when you've done things you don't want to retain. So that's kind of a good overview and information about the modify report feature, which applies to all of the reports. And you can experiment with them, and if you are able to get technical support, you may want to avail yourself of that for the program. So that's modify report.